Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Men don't cry because of words. They cry because of absence, because of realizing too late what they lost. See, most women think love is about giving more calls, more explanations, more effort, more forgiveness. And that's exactly where they lose. Because when you give a man everything too easily, he never feels the weight of losing you. Men don't miss what is handed to them without effort. They miss what they had to earn and fail to protect. When everything is available all the time, the mind gets comfortable, and comfort slowly kills appreciation. This is where most women get confused, because they believe love grows by giving more, explaining more, forgiving more, and staying longer even when they feel unseen. But the truth is, constant availability teaches a man that losing you is impossible. And if he believes he can't lose you, he never learns how valuable you are. A man's emotional attachment deepens when there is risk involved. When he knows that your presence in his life depends on how he treats you, his actions become intentional. But when you stay no matter what, when you tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or neglect, the message he receives is not love, it's permission. Permission to relax, permission to take you for granted, permission to believe that no matter how careless he becomes, you will still be there waiting. And nothing is missed that never goes away. Loss creates awareness. Distance creates reflection. Absence forces the mind to replay moments it once ignored. When you are no longer available, when your time, energy, and affection are no longer guaranteed, that is when the emotional shift begins. He starts remembering the things he overlooked, the way you supported him, the way you brought peace into his life, the way you stood by him when it was inconvenient for others. These memories gain weight only after your presence is removed. Men are wired to value what they work for. Effort builds attachment, not convenience. When he invests time, energy, and emotion into you, walking away becomes painful. But if he never had to work, if he never feared losing you, there is nothing for his heart to hold on to. That's why chasing, overgiving, and proving your worth does the opposite of what you hope for. It reduces desire instead of deepening it. When you stop giving access without effort, you stop being invisible. When you choose yourself instead of begging for attention, you introduce the possibility of loss. And it's in that possibility that a man finally understands what you meant to him. Silence is not emptiness, it is space. And space is where the mind begins to work. When you stop explaining yourself over and over, when you stop trying to make someone understand your worth, you give them the one thing they cannot ignore, the absence of your voice. Most women believe that talking more will fix confusion, that if they just say it the right way, he will finally get it. But the truth is, constant explanations often drown meaning, and repetition makes your feelings sound optional. Silence shifts power. It removes you from the role of persuader and places responsibility back where it belongs. When you go quiet, a man is forced to fill the gap with his own thoughts. He starts asking questions you used to ask out loud. He begins replaying conversations, noticing the moments where he dismissed you, realizing the weight of what he didn't respond to. Silence doesn't chase him, it follows him, quietly sitting in his mind when there is nothing else to distract. And words can be argued with, ignored, or twisted. Silence cannot. There is no tone to criticize, no sentence to misinterpret, no emotion to label as overreaction. In that quiet, imagination becomes louder than anything you could have said. He wonders why you stopped talking, why you stopped checking in, why you no longer need reassurance from him. That curiosity slowly turns into concern, and concern turns into emotional awareness. Silence also communicates self-respect. It shows that you value your peace more than winning an argument or forcing understanding. When you choose silence, you are not giving up. You are choosing not to beg for emotional acknowledgement. This changes how you are perceived. You are no longer someone trying to be heard. You become someone whose presence is missed. Your quiet confidence becomes louder than explanations ever were. Reflection requires stillness. Noise keeps people comfortable in avoidance. Silence removes that comfort. It gives space for guilt to surface, for regret to grow, for appreciation to finally appear. When there is nothing left for him to react to, he must face what he has been avoiding. And in that quiet confrontation, emotions rise that words could never reach. A woman's absence creates a void that words can never fill because presence is emotional, not verbal. When you are there every day offering care, attention, understanding, and support, those things blend into the background of his life. He gets used to the warmth, the listening ear, the reassurance, and the consistency without realizing how much those elements stabilize him. Words may express frustration or love, but they don't remove comfort. Absence does. When a woman leaves, she takes more than her physical presence with her. She takes the emotional safety he relied on, the encouragement that Sly fueled his confidence, the calm that softened his stress. That loss is not immediately loud. At first it feels like freedom, like space, like relief. But over time, the silence settles in, and that's when the pain begins to surface. There is no one to notice his moods, no one to check in without being asked, no one to remind him of his potential when he feels unsure. Arguments fade quickly, but absence lingers. Words spoken in anger or love eventually blur together, but the feeling of coming home to nothing familiar stays sharp. He may forget the exact sentences you said, but he won't forget how different life feels without you in it. The routines change, the energy shifts, and the emptiness becomes harder to ignore. That's when memory starts working against him, replaying moments he once overlooked. Absence forces comparison. Every interaction after you is measured against what you brought into his life. Other voices don't sound the same. Other attention doesn't feel as genuine. And other connections don't offer the same depth. He begins to realize that what he lost was not replaceable because it wasn't just companionship, it was emotional alignment. That realization cuts deeper than any argument ever could. A woman's absence also carries dignity. It shows that she chose herself instead of staying where she was undervalued. That choice leaves a mark. It tells him that her presence was a privilege, not a guarantee. And once that privilege is gone, regret has room to grow, because nothing hurts more than understanding the value of something only after it's no longer there. Men don't fall in love the moment they feel comfortable. They fall in love when reality forces them to look back. While women often connect through shared moments, communication, and emotional closeness, men usually realize depth only after distance appears. In the beginning, attention feels normal to him. Effort feels expected. Love feels stable enough that he assumes it will always be there. There is no urgency to value something he believes is permanent. Realization begins when routine breaks, when the messages stop coming, when the support disappears, when the presence he leaned on is no longer available. His mind starts doing what it never did before. It replays moments without distraction. He notices the silence where your voice used to be. He feels the absence of someone who cared without conditions. That gap becomes the space where emotion finally forms. Regret is the teacher most men listen to. It shows up late, but it speaks clearly. He remembers chances he ignored, moments he took lightly, times he chose comfort over effort. What once felt replaceable now feels specific. What once felt common now feels rare. That shift doesn't happen while you are still there forgiving and understanding. It happens when forgiveness is no longer accessible. Love deepens when there is something to lose. When he realizes that your absence is permanent, not a tactic, the weight becomes real. He understands that the door closed because he failed to protect what mattered. That awareness creates emotional attachment stronger than attraction ever did. It is no longer about wanting you, it becomes about missing what life felt like with you in it. Regret sharpens memory. He recalls how you believed in him before success, how you stayed patient during uncertainty, how you gave consistency when others were inconsistent. Those details gain emotional value only after they are gone. In that process, feelings evolve from casual interest into something heavier, something reflective, something painful. That is when love arrives, not in comfort, but in the understanding that what he lost was irreplaceable. When a woman truly values herself, her actions speak louder than any words could. She does not beg for attention, she does not plead for affection, and she does not lower her standards to fit someone else's convenience. Her self-worth is visible in the way she carries herself, in the boundaries she sets, and in the choices she makes about who is allowed in her life. This kind of confidence is magnetic. but it is also painful for someone who fails to recognize it because it exposes their own lack of effort and care. A man who once took her for granted begins to notice the difference between someone who compromises endlessly and someone who refuses to compromise on her dignity. When she chooses herself over desperation, she becomes unforgettable. Her presence was once comforting, and now her absence is a statement. Every time he thinks of her, he is reminded that she does not exist to fill gaps, to soothe insecurities, or to chase validation. She exists with her own purpose, her own happiness, and her own standards, and that reality is both humbling and jarring for him. It forces him to measure what he has lost, not in material ways, but in emotional depth, understanding, and the rare energy she brought into his life without needing to demand recognition for it. Men are quick to notice when something rare is missing. The woman who knows her value does not chase. She inspires pursuit. Her silence and her calm independence create a mirror, reflecting back the effort and attention he failed to give. When he realizes that he cannot summon her presence by simply asking or expecting, regret sets in. He begins to understand that nothing superficial can replace what he lost, because what she offered was rooted in authenticity and respect for herself and for him when he treated her rightly. Self-worth also teaches patience, resilience, and clarity. A woman who values herself does not react impulsively to neglect. She steps back, observes, and maintains her boundaries. This quiet strength amplifies her absence and makes it impossible to ignore. Her happiness without him becomes proof that life moves on, but it also becomes a mirror to his own choices, highlighting every moment of disregard and every instance where he failed to appreciate her fully. The power of her dignity lies not in confrontation, not in arguments, but in the way she simply exists with integrity, leaving him to confront the emptiness he created by taking her for granted